Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something that I've learned in life. Personal growth is not something you just stumble into. You don't wake up one morning with a better life by accident. It's intentional. You got to make the choice every single day that you want more. You want better, and you're willing to do what it takes to get there. Nobody is coming to save you. Nobody's going to hand you success. The first step is to own your life completely. If you keep blaming your past, your parents, your boss, or your circumstances, you'll stay stuck right where you are. The day you take responsibility is the day your life starts to change. One of the hardest lessons I ever had to learn in my life was this. Nobody is responsible for my success except me. Not my mama, not my daddy, not my boss, not my friends, not the government. Just me. And you know what? The moment I learned that, my whole life changed. See, a lot of people walk around waiting for somebody to come fix their situation. And that's the reason they never get anywhere. They're waiting for some magical moment, some perfect opportunity, or some person to come along and give them the life they've been dreaming of. But that ain't how it works. Life doesn't hand you success. It hands you opportunities. And you decide whether to take them or not. Now, I know some of y'all have been through tough times. I'm not here to tell you your pain ain't real. I'm not here to say the things that happened to you didn't hurt. They did. But here's the truth. If you keep replaying what went wrong, if you keep blaming who did you wrong, you're just giving them more power over you. They already took that moment from you. Why let them take your future too? The only way you take that power back is by saying, from this point on, my life is my responsibility. That means your wins are yours, your losses are yours, your choices are yours. When you own your life like that, you start to move different. I remember a time when I was broke, living out of my car and blaming everybody but myself. I was talking about how the industry didn't give me a chance, how people didn't believe in me, how I never got the breaks. Then one day I realized none of those excuses were putting gas in my car. None of them were paying my bills. None of them were getting me closer to the dream I had in my heart. That's when it hit me. I could either sit there and keep talking about how unfair life was, or I could get up, figure it out, and do something about it. I chose to get up. When you take responsibility, you stop waiting for things to happen and start making things happen. You stop saying, why me, and start saying, try me. You look at the situation and instead of seeing a wall, you see a door you just haven't found a key to yet. And here's the thing. That key might be a new skill you got to learn, a habit you got to break, or a risk you got to take. But if you keep pointing fingers, you'll never even go looking for it. Some people don't like this idea because it forces them to admit they could be doing more. And that's uncomfortable. But comfort don't change nothing. Growth starts when you face yourself and ask, what can I do today to move closer to where I want to be? You might not control everything that happens to you, but you control how you respond. And how you respond determines where you end up. If you got knocked down, get up. If you made a mistake, own it and fix it. If you're in a situation you don't like, stop talking about it and start changing it. You'll be surprised at how much shifts in your life when you stop blaming, stop complaining, and start taking ownership. Because when you take full responsibility, you stop giving the power away and start putting it back where it belongs, in your own hands. One of the biggest lessons I've learned in life is that the people you hang around will either push you forward or pull you back. You cannot expect to grow, succeed, and live a better life if you are constantly surrounded by negative voices, dream killers, and people who see the world through a lens of doubt. Your circle is like soil. If you plant yourself in bad soil, it doesn't matter how good the seed is, it won't grow. But if you put that same seed in rich soil, it will blossom into something beautiful. That's why I tell people all the time, take a look at who you're spending your time with, because they're either feeding your vision or starving it. I remember early in my career, I had friends who didn't believe in what I was doing. They didn't think comedy was a real job. They'd laugh at my dreams, make fun of my ideas, and tell me I should settle for something safe. And the more time I spent around that energy, the more I started to doubt myself. I would walk away from conversations feeling smaller, like maybe they were right. Maybe I was chasing something I couldn't have. But then I started meeting people who believed in me, people who said, man, you're funny. You got something special. Keep going. And you know what? My confidence started to grow. I started thinking bigger. I started taking more chances. That's when things began to change for me. The truth is, some of y'all have dreams that are too big for your current environment. You're trying to fly, but you're hanging with people who don't even want to leave the ground. You can't expect someone with no vision to see yours. You can't expect someone who's comfortable being stuck to understand why you're working so hard to move forward. And it's not that they're bad people. It's just that their mindset doesn't match your mission. If you're serious about growth, you've got to protect your energy. Sometimes that means making tough choices. It means limiting your time with people who constantly complain, gossip, or focus on the negative. It means seeking out mentors, friends, and communities that challenge you to think bigger, push harder, and keep going even when you feel like quitting. When you're around people who are going somewhere, you start to believe you can go somewhere too. Energy is contagious. If you surround yourself with people who are passionate, driven, and focused, that energy will rub off on you. If you surround yourself with lazy, unmotivated, and negative people, that energy will rub off too. You got to decide which one you want more of in your life, because you can't get both at the same time. Your future depends on the company you keep. So choose wisely. Most people want a better life, but they never take the time to define what that actually means for them. They walk through life hoping something good will happen, but hope is not a strategy. Success doesn't happen by accident. It happens by intention. That intention starts with setting clear goals. A goal gives you direction, something to aim at. Without it, you're like a ship sailing without a map, drifting wherever the wind blows. When you have a clear goal, every decision becomes easier because you know exactly where you're trying to go. But having a goal is only the first step. You've also got to see it in your mind every single day. The human mind is powerful. What you focus on expands. If you constantly think about problems, you'll find more problems. If you constantly think about possibilities, you'll find more possibilities. Visualization works because it trains your brain to recognize opportunities that move you toward what you want. When you imagine yourself achieving your goal, you start to believe it's possible, and that belief shapes your actions. This is why top athletes use visualization before big games. They see themselves making the shot, running the perfect play, crossing the finish line first. They don't just practice physically. They practice mentally. You can do the same thing for your life. Picture yourself living in the home you want, running the business you dream of, standing on the stage you've always imagined. Feel the emotions you would feel if it were already true. The more real you make it in your mind, the more your body and actions will align with making it real in the physical world. You've also got to be specific. A vague goal like I want to be successful doesn't give your mind anything to work with. What does success look like for you? How much money do you want to earn? What kind of lifestyle do you want to live? What kind of relationships do you want to have? The clearer you get, the more powerful your vision becomes. Writing your goals down is another critical step. Something happens when you put pen to paper. It's like making a contract with yourself. Keep that list where you can see it daily. Read it in the morning to set the tone for your day, and read it at night to keep your subconscious mind working on it while you sleep. Over time, you'll notice ideas, resources, and connections showing up that you might have missed before. That's not magic, that's focus. When you combine clear goals With daily visualization, you give yourself a target and a mental rehearsal to hit it. You stop wandering aimlessly and start moving with purpose. You start noticing opportunities that line up with your vision and ignoring distractions that don't serve it. And eventually what you've been seeing in your mind becomes what you're living in your reality. Every person who has ever achieved something worthwhile has faced setbacks, failures, and disappointments along the way. The difference between those who succeed and those who give up is not talent, luck, or timing. It's the ability to learn from those setbacks instead of letting them stop you. A failure is not a dead end. It's a detour pointing you toward a better route. When something doesn't work out the way you planned, it's easy to feel frustrated, embarrassed, or discouraged. But if you can shift your perspective and see the lesson hidden in the loss, you turn what could have been a stumbling block into a stepping stone. Every setback carries valuable information. It tells you something about what needs to change, what needs more work, or what you need to avoid in the future. If you ignore that information and just walk away, you miss the very thing that could help you win next time. People often think success is one straight line from point A to point B, but in reality, it's a messy path full of twists, turns, and wrong turns. Each wrong turn teaches you something about how to navigate better. Sometimes the lesson is about your strategy. Maybe the approach you used wasn't the most effective, and now you know how to adjust it. Sometimes it's about timing. Maybe you were trying to force something to happen before you were fully prepared for. And sometimes the lesson is about yourself, about patience, discipline, resilience, or humility. If you quit the first time you hit a wall, you'd never discover how strong you really are or how close you might have been to breaking through. Setbacks can also reveal blind spots you didn't even know you had. Maybe you realize you need a skill you haven't developed yet, a connection you haven't made, or a resource you haven't secured. That awareness is progress in itself, because now you can go out and get what you were missing instead of continuing to operate without it. The most successful people in the world don't avoid failure. They embrace it as part of the process. They know that each misstep, each rejection, and each disappointment is just another piece of the puzzle. They extract the lesson, make the adjustment, and try again. Not blindly, but wiser than before. When you approach setbacks with this mindset, you stop fearing them and start using them. You realize that the worst outcome isn't failing, it's quitting before you learn what the failure was trying to teach you. Every time you choose to learn instead of quit, you're building resilience, sharpening your skills, and moving closer to your goals. Over time, those lessons compound, and what once felt like roadblocks become the very experiences that shape your ability to win at the highest level. Self-discipline is the bridge between wanting something and actually having it. Most people have dreams, but dreams without discipline stay in the imagination. Discipline is doing what needs to be done even when you don't feel like doing it. It's showing up consistently, sticking to your commitments, and following through on the plans you've made. Without it, motivation fades and goals remain out of reach. With it, progress becomes inevitable, even if it's slow at times. Habits and routines are the building blocks of discipline. The little things you do every day may not seem important in the moment, but over time they shape your entire life. Waking up early to work on your goals, choosing healthy meals over junk food, spending an hour learning instead of scrolling through social media. These small choices compound into massive results. Discipline is not about making one big heroic effort. It's about making the right choice over and over until it becomes second nature. The challenge with discipline is that it often feels uncomfortable. Your mind will come up with excuses telling you it's too hard, too late, or that you can skip it just this once. But every time you give in, you reinforce the habit of quitting. Every time you push through, you strengthen the habit of persistence. That's why self-discipline isn't just about physical action. It's a mental game. You have to train yourself to keep your word to yourself no matter how you feel in the moment. Routines make discipline easier because they remove the need to make constant decisions. When you have a set schedule and clear habits, you're not negotiating with yourself every day about whether or not you'll take action. You just do it because it's part of your routine. It becomes automatic, which frees up mental energy for other important decisions. That's why high performers in any field often live by structured routines. They know discipline is easier to maintain when it's built into the rhythm of their lives. Another important aspect of discipline is delayed gratification. This means choosing the long-term reward over the short-term pleasure. It's resisting the urge to take the easy way out because you know the harder path will pay off in the end. Whether it's saving money instead of spending it, exercising instead of relaxing, or practicing instead of partying. Every sacrifice you make for your future strengthens your self-discipline. Discipline also grows when you measure your progress. Tracking your actions, whether it's workouts, hours worked, or money saved, keeps you accountable. It turns discipline into a game you can win, motivating you to stay consistent. Over time, the discipline you build creates momentum, and that momentum carries you through moments when motivation is low. The habits and routines you commit to today determine the results you'll experience tomorrow. And the person who can master their daily actions can shape their life into almost anything they want. Growth is not something that happens automatically with age. It happens intentionally through continuous learning and exposure to new ideas. The world is constantly changing, and if you stop learning, you fall behind. Reading, learning, and seeking new experiences keep your mind sharp, your perspective fresh, and your opportunities expanding. Every book you read, every skill you develop, and every new place you explore adds another layer to who you are and what you can do. Reading is one of the simplest yet most powerful tools for growth. A single book can give you decades of someone else's wisdom, saving you from mistakes and showing you paths you never knew existed. Books open the door to knowledge, creativity, and inspiration. They allow you to learn from the successes and failures of others without paying the full price yourself. Even a few pages a day can transform how you think and make decisions. Learning doesn't stop at books. It's about being curious and open-minded in every situation. Whether you're picking up a new skill, taking a course, or having a conversation with someone who sees the world differently, every interaction can teach you something if you're willing to listen. The key is to approach life like a student, always asking questions, always looking for ways to improve, and never assuming you already know it all. New experiences push you beyond your comfort zone, and that's where real growth happens. Traveling to new places, trying unfamiliar activities, meeting different kinds of people. All of these things challenge the way you see the world and yourself. They expose you to new cultures, ideas, and possibilities. The more you step into the unfamiliar, the more adaptable and confident you become. Growth also comes from learning from failure and feedback. When you try something new, you risk making mistakes, but those mistakes are part of the process. Each failure teaches you what works and what doesn't, giving you valuable experience you can't get from playing it safe. Surrounding yourself with people who can give honest feedback is equally important because it allows you to see blind spots you might miss on your own. The habit of continuous growth builds resilience. When challenges come, you have more tools, more knowledge, and more experience to draw from. You're better equipped to adapt, pivot, and find solutions. You become more valuable in any environment, whether in your career, your relationships, or your community, because you're always bringing new insights and capabilities to the table. Choosing to keep growing through reading, learning, and new experiences isn't just about achieving more. It's about becoming more. It's about expanding the limits of what you believe is possible for yourself and creating a life that is richer in wisdom, perspective, and opportunity.